जो झूठ फैलाया है, जो अफवाहें फैलाई हैं, उसका पर्दाफाश हो जाएगा। सत्य वहां पहुंच जाएगा तो उनका टिकना भारी हो जाएगा। और इसलिए हो हल्ला करते रहो, जैसा बाहर करते रहो तो अंदर भी करते रहो। आंदोलन कर रहे सभी किसान साथियों की भावनाओं का ये सदन भी और ये सरकार भी आदर करती हैं, आदर करती रहेगी। अभी भी हम इंतजार करते हैं कि वो अगर कोई चीज स्पेसिफिक बताते हैं और अगर वो कन्विंसिंग है तो हमें कोई संकोच नहीं है।
You're watching News Epicenter with me, Marya Shakil. Prime Minister Narendra Modi delivered a fiery speech in the Lok Sabha, taking on the opposition for misleading farmers on the 3 farm laws, spreading misinformation as a pure political tactic, he said, to derail the reform agenda, fueling the anarchy we have seen in the past few weeks. He said the purity of the farmer protest has now been hijacked, where the content and the intent of the laws have been completely ignored. But that was the political strike. To the farmers, the Prime Minister said he's committed to their welfare, saying it is time to shift the status quo to empower the sector across the country, adding that the centre is ready to discuss all the laws clause by clause. I repeat, he said, the government is ready to discuss the laws clause by clause. Once again, the centre has said they are ready for talks. 11 rounds have already taken place, but the result has been the same. Farmers refusing to budge from their maximalist stand, calling for a complete repeal of the 3 laws. The centre has shown elbow room, agreeing to scrap the Electricity Amendment Act and the stubble burning clause which the farmers had demanded. The centre even agreed to suspend the laws for 18 months in order to find a solution. But even after that, the farmer groups have said all they want and only thing that they want is repeal of these laws. Agriculture reforms have been debated in this country for decades. The Modi government has taken the lead to push them through, and multiple economists have said they are necessary changes to empower farmers, boost their income and modernize this sector. A middle ground is the only way to end this impasse, which means farmers cannot continue with their maximalist position. The government has said it is a phone call away, and the Prime Minister has repeatedly said he is open to discussions and amendments. So is it time now? I would say, is it high time farmer groups return to the negotiation table to find a middle path and end this impasse? Joining me on the show, Aparajita Sarangi, Member of Parliament of the BJP, Dr. Shama Mohammed, Congress spokesperson, Neerja Chaudhary, political analyst, Sunil Alag is the chairman of SK Advisors, Chaudhary Savit Malik, he is the national president of Kisan Union. Malik Sahab, clause by clause पर सरकार बात करने चाहती है. प्रधानमंत्री ने आज फिर से वही बोला, चर्चा करिए. लेकिन मुझे ये जानना है कि आपका जब कंटेंट पर बात ही नहीं आप करना चाहते हैं तो फिर ये सल्यूशन कैसे होगा? रिपील ऑप्शन नहीं है तो आगे का रास्ता क्या है?
मारिया जी, हम लोगों की जो भी डिमांड है हम लिखित रूप में इनको दे चुके हैं और ये लोग अच्छी तरह जानते हैं, भली बात ही समझ चुके हैं. लेकिन इन लोगों की क्या मंशा है ये हमको बार बार दिखाई दे रहा है. माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी ने आज जो प्रयास किया है किसानों को और उनको नेताओं को अलग करने का किया. उन्होंने एक तरफ कहा है कि आंदोलन पवित्र है, लेकिन कुछ लोग इसको अपवित्र कर रहे हैं. जो आंदोलन बड़े अच्छे तरीके से शांतिपूर्वक तरीके से 77 दिन से चल रहा है, 77 डे हो गए, तो उसमें जो है इनको हम तो लिखित रूप में पहले ही दे चुके हैं कि हमारी ये 4 मांगे हैं कि कानून की वापसी हो, एमएसपी की गारंटी हो,
लेकिन कानून की वापसी क्यों हो?
ट्रैक्टर वाला नियम किसानों को छूट दी जाए और जो बिजली अधिनियम है उसमें हो जाए.
लेकिन कानून की वापसी क्यों हो?
किसान पकड़े गए हैं उन किसानों को भी
मलिक साहब, मेरा सवाल ये है, कानून की वापसी क्यों हो?
कानून की वापसी इसलिए हो कि उसमें जो है बहुत सारी ऐसी चीजें हैं जो हम लोगों को डरा रही है।
नहीं,
हम लोगों को ये
जैसे
लग रहा
कौन
है
सी
कि
चीज?
इसके आने से हमारी खेती प्रभावित होगी, हमारी मंडियां
जैसे कौन
समाप्त
सी
हो
चीज?
जाएंगी और हमारा कोर्ट जाने का अधिकार छीन लिया
मलिक
जाएगा।
साहब, आप हमारे
हमारी
सवाल
जमीन
का
भी जा
जवाब नहीं
सकती
दे
है
रहे। बार बार
और
अश्योरेंस आ रहा है। एमएसपी पर सरकार ने एक बार नहीं 50 बार बोल दिया कि वो है, रहेगा और कुछ उसको टच नहीं किया जाएगा। वो इंटेंट है। आपने देखा, आपको मैं कुछ फैक्ट्स बताती हूँ, क्योंकि शायद
मारिया
फैक्ट्स
जी,
जो है वो बार बार दोहराना
कहने
जरूरी
और
होता है।
सुनने से काम नहीं होता है। ये
चलिए।
देश कानून से चलता है, संविधान से चलता
एग्जैक्टली।
है। आप लोगों ने कहा
Amount
था कि हम
paid
गारंटी देंगे तो
to
गारंटी
wheat
दीजिए।
farmers, okay, amount paid to wheat farmers has gone up by more than 121%, while the amount disbursed to rice farmers has gone up by massive 170.23% during this time. Wheat farmers were paid 33,874 crores in 2013-2014, previous to the Modi regime, as compared to 75,050 crore in 2020-2021. इससे बड़ा गारंटी क्या होगा?
मारिया जी, मैं आपको बताना चाहता हूं, एफसीआई का जो बजट है वो 168 करोड़ रुपए इस वर्ष सरकार ने कम कर दिया है। और हम कहते हैं, ये कह रहे हैं कि एमएसपी थी, है और रहेगी। अरे इन्होंने ही तो कहा था हमको कि हम सरकार में आएंगे तो हम एमएसपी की गारंटी देंगे। तो अब क्या दिक्कत आ रही है? दे देनी चाहिए इनको।
अपराजिता सारंगी will respond.
A very good evening. The entire nation has listened to the Honorable Prime Minister. I was in the Lok Sabha when he made this wonderful speech. His speech was highly inspiring and motivating, full of optimism and hope, and I think he has communicated extremely well the intent of the government. We have a lot of respect for the farmers. We stand by the farmers and we stand for the farmers. But at the same time, you know, these Andolan GVs are creating all kinds of problems. We are ready for any kind of dialogue even now. I think with this line he has ended his speech of today. And I think the message to the entire nation is loud and clear. There are anti-national agencies, anti-national bodies who are instigating the whole thing. The opposition, all kinds of opposition, including the Congress, have lost their political field. They have no relevance whatsoever in the country. They have absolutely no agenda before the government, absolutely agenda-less. I think this expression Honorable Prime Minister has also used during the course of his speech, agenda-less opposition. Okay. And you know what?
Shama?
I was appalled when the entire opposition walked out. The opposition should have the courage to listen to the Honorable Prime Minister and, you know, come to the table with facts and arguments.
Okay.
We'll
talk about facts on the show today. That is the reason why I also want to understand from
facts, no arguments.
Dr. Shama Mohammed. It's about content of the legislation. The government says they'll discuss clause by clause. What exactly is the Congress Party's objection?
Okay, first and foremost, today when the Prime Minister came into the Lok Sabha, the first thing I thought he would do is condole the deaths of more than 150 farmers. Till now, not a single word. Yesterday we saw him. We saw empathy in him. He was in tears because of a senior leader from our party was leaving the Rajya Sabha. So today I thought there would be tears in his eyes for those farmers who have died in the cold, and they're still there. Water is not allowed to them. Barricades are there. They cannot make the langar now because they've stopped water going there. There are barricades. Nails have been dug up for them not to come in. They are stopped from Haryana and UP to not get into Delhi. Is this our own, you know, it's the constitutional right to travel from one state to the other. Nobody can stop them. Why is the Prime Minister saying one thing and doing something else? This is what. Then he calls the opposition Par GVs, Andolan GVs. That does not behove the office of the Prime Minister of India. How dare he calls us these names? I want to ask Ms. Sarangi, is this how the Prime Minister calls the opposition?
Okay, Aparajita, quick response from you, and then I'll bring the other two panelists.
Such names, shame on the Prime Minister of India for calling the opposition.
Okay, Aparajita, quick response from you.
There are peaceful protests by these farmers. They have never.
See, now the problem is these Andolan GVs have to oppose the Prime Minister and his government for opposition's sake. Prime Minister comes, talks about the various works he has been doing for the country, for the farmers. They did not have the courage, they did not have the humility and the grace to sit in the Lok Sabha and listen to the Honorable Prime Minister and his works for the farmers. What they saw was
How
that
is
the
that an
Prime
abuse,
Minister did
Shama?
not utter a word for the farmers who have died. See, we stand by the farmers. We have been doing everything for the farmers. We want our farmers to be sashakt and swatantra. And that is why all these reforms have taken place.
Fine enough. Now
I think the entire nation can see through the entire design.
Okay, Neerja Chaudhary. Neerja Chaudhary, we are seeing how events have played out, and particularly in the Lok Sabha today with the Congress and the TMC staging a walkout. The Prime Minister here also in the Rajya Sabha had said, let's talk clause by clause. The intent of the government has been communicated multiple times, and also through its actions. If you look at what the Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman quoted in her budget, with the overall percentage having gone up, and I just quoted it. When you look at the politics of various blocks here, who is seeming to be very, very stubborn?
I think, we have got into an impasse. It's become a prestige issue. Somewhere something has to give way. And I think what we saw yesterday in Parliament between Mr. Narendra Modi and Ghulam Nabi Azad, who was retiring, was a very heartwarming moment, which said something about the kind of consensus that Indian politics has had in the past. And I think which has been missing in recent times. So what we need in the farmers' dialogue is an Azad moment. Prime Minister said to Mr. Ghulam Nabi Azad, I'm not going to let you retire. We need your services. Let him bring Mr. Azad on, into this dialogue process, along with the Agriculture Minister. Let other party voices, it's not other party, Mr. Azad, who he seems to trust. Because something, as I say, has to give way. And to call people anti-national, conspiracies from abroad, Andolan, GV, parasite, it really compounds the problem. It does not move towards a solution. And it's a good note that the Prime Minister struck, that we are willing to go clause by clause. If you have thousands of people, Marya, sitting there for 77 days, and these are ordinary farmers, and we've seen the way they rush from their villages and come here. If something is agitating them, you may say they're wrong. You may say they don't understand. But you've got to somehow reach out to them and try and understand what is it that is bothering them for so long.
Yes, that is the reason why I'm saying, looking at the communication that has happened post this legislation has been passed, Sunil Alag, and this reach out that is happening multiple times. Over the last few weeks and months, we have seen that. How do you end this impasse? What will be the solution? If government is saying clause by clause discussion, on 2 counts they have agreed, yes, it may not be the right approach to say that the farmers do not understand anything, but then what will be the middle path?
Look, I don't want to get into the politics of it, and here they are abusing the Prime Minister, whether the Prime Minister said this. Very easy to divert the question that you are asking. The question is very simple. How do you resolve this? The point remains that I expected parliamentarians which are educated to have gone clause by clause, raised it with the Prime Minister, brought their point forward. Today I saw a parliamentarian saying that the mandis are being abolished, or the MSPs going away. And I saw the Deputy Finance Minister getting up and asking the gentleman, show me one clause which backs what you're saying. So therefore, there is a lot of misinformation which is there, and not a single person is willing to discuss the clauses. And therefore, you can carry on saying the Prime Minister shouldn't call names, this communication is wrong, that's what the Prime Minister should do. Let's stick to how do we resolve this. Unless we all go out and tell the farmers, including all political parties, have to go and understand what is the Prime Minister trying to do, what are these farm laws, go clause by clause in Parliament, the farmers will listen automatically to their leaders. And the leaders are being told, in fact, I also blame the TV journalists, not your channel necessarily, but others who are just going, acha, you are in the cold, temperature kitna hai, rather than actually explaining clause by clause to them, they are not even attempting to do that. So therefore, even in trade unions, whenever, as a CEO you discuss. There cannot be, you have to take back this, otherwise there is no discussion. There's no harm in saying take
So you
this
are
back,
saying
but
that
you
the
must have a
opposition
solid
also
logic
has to
for it.
play a
You
role
wanted
in
MSP.
consensus
MSP
building.
has been given. 1 second.
Shama.
All I want to say, there is no pain in change. It's the resistance to change that there is a lot of pain.
Okay.
And I think every political party must get together and tell the Prime Minister that, look, clause by clause, this is what we want removed. And if he says he doesn't remove it, then it's fine. But you're not even willing to discuss it. So I don't understand the political parties. I don't understand anybody at this point of time who is resisting the 3 farm laws when the government has given into almost everything that you want.
Yes, Dr. Shama
Mr.
Mohammed.
Alad, Mr. Alad, a couple of things to you. You said about the name calling. If a name was called, somebody from our party said something
Here we
against
go
the Prime
again.
Minister.
I don't want to get into that. I want to only discuss
you
the
would,
farm
you
laws.
would come, you
Let's
would
stick
come,
to the
you
farm
would
laws.
condemn it. You would condemn it.
Again we
Mr.
go.
Alad, please don't take sides on this. Now let me finish. I did not interrupt you.
Let's discuss the
Number
farm
two,
laws and not what happened in
according
Parliament.
to the
That is the
because
objective of this debate. It's the
so
farm
the
laws. Have
the
you
Prime
gone
Minister
clause
should
by
not
Can we
clause?
talk
abuse
about,
opposition
no, I'm
first.
saying, can we talk about the content of the legislation? That's
So,
where
let's
that's
the
right.
question is.
Let's just talk
So
about
the
the content of the legislation.
Yes.
The farm laws, the most important thing right now in the farm laws is it has to be repealed, and let's
Why?
make it MSP
repealed
legal.
without any-
But
He
why
did not
repeal?
talk about making the MSP legal. That is what we want. We saw what has happened to your own
It's been
state,
given.
Bihar.
The Prime Minister
APMCs
has
are gone.
said
It
how
was
often
not
do
that
you want to say
APMCs,
it? I
all
don't
of them are gone. Procurement centers, public procurement centers are gone. 80% not there. See, the effect will come up later on. That is what is going to happen.
Again, the point being made here is that this new regime is optional. It is about giving that option to the farmers. If they want to exercise their right, here is something that they can do. It's not compulsory. Why this fear then?
Marya, it is not that when the mandis, they don't have to pay a fee and they can directly deal with the farmers. What happens, the mandis will eventually in 2 years' time will close down. That is the
Don't
reason
bring
the
a fear.
MSP
They
has
are
to
not
be
closing
made
the mandis. They are
legal,
giving
and
the
also
option.
it will affect the PDS system. The PDS system, the APMC, all of them are joined together. This will definitely and always
Shama,
remember, this MSP is a benchmark for everybody. You know that. You know what happened in Madhya Pradesh?
No.
When they have implemented this in Madhya Pradesh, what happened? They had a lot of bounce checks because there's nobody from the mandi to take care of this. Number one, and also the Prime Minister says we will let it off for 18 months. What happens after 18 months? All the protest goes down. He'll implement it.
No.
Why don't you just repeal this law?
No,
and
but why
put the
repeal
MSP
it?
in? Because
Again,
it was never discussed in Parliament.
It was discussed in
went
Parliament
not
for 2
through a
decades.
voice vote. It went through voice vote. You know what is the
I'm
RTI
saying
reply?
the question is, Shama, just as the maximalist position of the farmers is being questioned, because now it is the invitation that has come from the government of doing a clause by clause discussion. The government says there's no question of repeal. Let's discuss point by point. They are open to amendments.
So who is the government to decide? Because the government did not discuss it in the Parliament. We are not going to allow all the bills to be bulldozed on us. The government of India should have discussed this before in Parliament, before with the farm unions. An RTI reply in the Supreme, an RTI reply says clearly that they were not discussions.
Aprajita will respond.
That is coming.
Okay,
That is coming
okay,
from the RTI
okay,
reply from the government
okay,
of India.
fine.
They say there were no discussions.
Aprajita.
So what is the answer to that?
Aprajita.
Over the last 2 days, day before yesterday and yesterday, around 60 parliamentarians have spoken belonging to different political parties, the opposition and the ruling party. All of us spoke. In fact, I was also one of the speakers. Now, very honestly and very humbly, let me tell you that not one parliamentarian from the opposition came with valid facts and arguments and with certain proposals for amendments. Now, you remember, you can recall very well, the entire nation can recall, there were discussions in 12 round of talks, and in the 3rd or 4th round of talk, I recall, we had proposed 7 amendments. And we had also decided that we would be giving in writing regarding the MSP. Now, those 7 amendments, they did not agree to, and thereafter, we also requested them to come up with certain amendments from their side. They did not come with that also, and then we decided to discuss clause by clause. These were the 3 stages of discussion in the 12 round of talks. Now, 2 days also in the Parliament, nothing valid, nothing substantial, nothing concrete came from them. Now, today, the Prime Minister's speech almost 90% of the speech focused on the welfare of the farmers, and he gave his opinion about the whole movement, whole andolan that is taking place. And he actually, I reiterate, he concluded his speech by saying that we are ready for dialogue. We believe in discussion and dialogue. Democracy is
lens
embedded
again
within
on
all
Mr.
of us.
Malik.
We want to
Malik.
sit with them, but let them come to the table with a positive bent of mind, and let us not have opposition just for opposition's sake.
Savit Malik, then what? बार बार बोला जा रहा है डायलॉग टेबल पर आइए, अब बात करते हैं, बातचीत से ही रास्ता निकलेगा। तो आप लोग भी एक पोजीशन जो है उससे आप लोग भी तो चाहेंगे घर वापस जाएं, सब चीज सोल्यूशन हो।
आगे भी जब भी सरकार बुलाएगी हम लोग बातचीत करने के लिए जाएंगे। ये हम भी कह रहे हैं बातचीत से ही रास्ता निकलेगा। हम लोग बात करने के लिए पहले भी तैयार थे, आज भी तैयार है, लेकिन सरकार को ये समझना चाहिए कि जो चीजें ऐसी हैं, जब इन्होंने पहले खुद कहा था कि हम एमएसपी की गारंटी देंगे, तो एमएसपी पे बात करनी चाहिए। और इसीलिए मैं बार बार ये अपील करता रहा हूं आपके चैनलों के माध्यम से कि जो भी बात होती है सरकार की और किसान की, उसका लाइव प्रसारण होना चाहिए, ताकि पता लग जाए भारत की जनता को बाहर भी कि सरकार झूठ बोल रही है कि किसान झूठ बोल रहा है। जो ये लोग आकर बताते हैं कि हमने इस पे बात कर ली, इस पे सहमति होगी, उस पे होगी, होता कुछ नहीं है। जहां पहले दिन खड़े थे अभी तक वहीं के वहीं खड़े हुए हैं। लेकिन उसका नतीजा ये होना चाहिए कि जो भी बातचीत हो उसका लाइव प्रसारण हो, और अगर किसान गलत कर रहे हैं तो उसका भी भारत की जनता को पता लगे, और सरकार अगर झूठ बोल रही है वो भी भारत की जनता को पता लगे।
You know, Aprajita, because now that the farmers are saying that they're ready for talks,
we have
yes, go ahead.
We have been waiting for a call from the farmers unions since January 22. In fact, Shri Narendra Tomar ji has already said
उसके लिए सरकार को बुलाना पड़ेगा
in detail, and we are
जैसे
waiting.
पहले बुलाती थी।
We are ready to put it on hold for the next 18 months, and we want them to come up with specific proposals. Now, I use the word specific. Today, the Prime Minister has used this word. The Prime Minister said, come with specific proposals. And we want that to happen. And we are waiting for a call from them. We are just a call away. That's it.
चलिए एक फोन कर दीजिए, बातचीत शुरू होनी चाहिए। दिस हैज टू एंड। बार बार बोल रहे हैं प्रधानमंत्री जी, आकर बातचीत करिए, उसी से सोल्यूशन होगा।
वो तो हमारे नेता बार बार कह रहे हैं कि माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी फोन नंबर तो बताइए, कहाँ हम फोन करेंगे।
Okay, the final words I'll give to
सरकार की तरफ से नंबर ही नहीं दिया गया है।
And let him condole the deaths, Marya. The more than 150 farmers have died. Why no words
Neerja
from
and
him
Sunil
on that?
Alag will get the final words. I'm going to begin with you, Neerja.
देखो, किसान नेता हमेशा तैयार बैठे हैं, जब भी सरकार की तरफ से निमंत्रण आएगा बातचीत करेंगे, और बातचीत से ही समस्या का हल निकलेगा।
चलिए,
यही आंदोलन है हमारा कि हम लोग बातचीत से इसका हल निकालेंगे, शांतिपूर्वक आंदोलन करेंगे।
चलिए, आप बातचीत करने के लिए तैयार हैं, सरकार आपको इनविटेशन दे रही है, तो अब लगता है सोल्यूशन निकलेगा। नीरजा चौधरी,
I think there is a trust deficit. That's very clear.
Yes.
That has to be overcome. And maybe, as I said earlier, the Prime Minister, if the clause by clause is a very good idea, because you get into the nitty-gritty of everything. Maybe get some opposition leaders on board, the major parties in camera session, to ask them, how do we move forward on this? How do we create this trust? Because I think the time has really come to, deal with this in a very serious way. Not that it's not being done in a serious way, but we've not been able to make headway. And really to understand why the farmers
how do you
so strongly.
How do you ensure that trust is retained?
You're saying reforms are right. We are right. They are saying no, only repeal. So one has to reach out and really try and understand.
Yes.
And I think the dialogue is the only way. After all, with other countries also where we've had problems, we just go on and on talking. There's simply no other way.
Yes.
So I think that has to, no matter how long it takes.
How do you bridge this trust deficit gap, Sunil Alag? I'll give you 30 seconds.
Actually, you can break the Trust Deficit Act if you remove all the political parties from this entire angle and talk to the farmers directly. Look, they are being misguided. There's no question. They refuse to come clause by clause. People will talk about condoning debts. Yes, he should have condoned debts. Yes, he should have communicated it earlier. But now we've reached a certain situation. How do you resolve it? They cannot block roads and take the fundamental rights of all the people who go to work in factories. Look, just because the farmers have a fundamental right to complain, so do other people. And just because they are losing sympathy now because you are blocking average citizens away from their place of work. And ultimately, at the end of the day, if the farmers get down to have nobody advising them and misleading them, as Neerja has suggested, clause by clause, if they sit down and say, these are our problems, not imaginary fears that this might happen, this likely to happen, that you got to remove all that and say, all right, if in 1 year this happens, this is what we want. If this doesn't happen, give it a chance. And that's all that I say, that look, you have to remove the trust. The trust deficit will now come, and better communication will come if political parties get out of the system and you talk to the farmers directly.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us, Sunil Alag, Savit Malik, Neerja Chaudhary, Shah Mohammed, and Aprajita Sarangi. Thank you so much for joining us. That's all from me. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll be seeing you tomorrow.